For each relation given, sketch its graph and state the domain and range using interval notation. So our first one is x and y are variables such that y equals the square root of x minus 1. So the first thing we want to look at is, will x, because there's no domain, so they don't tell us where x exists, let's see if x exists everywhere. So if I have a square root, I know that this thing inside cannot be negative. Okay, so just before negative on a timeline, we get 0. So if I know where will the thing inside, x minus 1, equals 0, I know where these values will start to work, which if I add 1 on both sides, x becomes 1. So I know that the first value is when x, remember on my graph, I just want to show you where we are. So if this is my y-axis, this is my x-axis, it means that when x is 1 over here somewhere, that's where my graph is going to start, where x is 1. So over here, somewhere along this is where my graph is going to start. Okay, x cannot be less than, because the moment x is less than 1, for example 0, then this becomes negative. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to know what's the general shape. Later on I will show you how to use your graphics calculator to draw this function. But let's go. What I want to do now is I want to say, what is y if x is 1? So I'm going to say, if, just lost the page. I'm going to say, if x equals, and you have to show one of the steps. So I'm going to substitute 1 in there. I'm going to say, if x equals 1, then y equals, and I'm going to say, substitute 1 in the place, 1 minus 1 equals 0. 1 minus 1 is 0, square root of 0 is 0, which means I have my first point. My first point is 1, x is 1, y is 0. Now, I want to know now, what is it if x equals 2? I don't have to go and do this step, write it down every time. All I want to know is find a general direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say x equals 2, x equals 3, x equals 4, have a couple of values so that I can know how does my graph look like. At this stage, the only thing I do know is I know that this graph starts where x equals 1 and 0. Now I quickly want to go show you a quick step on this calculator of mine. On this calculator of mine, I'm just going to reset everything. So if you're not sure what to do, I'm just going to say second function, reset, which is the 0 button. Right, so I'm going to say second function, reset 0. Do you want to reset? I'm going to say yes. Okay, and I'm good to go, memory clear. So what I want to do is I want to insert this equation on my calculator. I'm just going to say enter to clear it, or clear, or whatever. Okay, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to say table, and it says enter function in x. Okay, we'll talk about functions soon. So y will equal the square root, which is over there, so it's second function square root of x, which is this button, take 1. Not negative 1, it's take 1. I'm going to go out of this and I'm going to say enter. Where do you want to start? Well, I don't have there because I will be able to jump around anyway. I want to go up in ones, so it means if x is 1, then the next one will be 2, 3. You can set that to 0, 0 0.1, 0.2, whatever the steps are. So I'm going to say enter, 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 enter. And what it does, it gives me the values. Now, just we say that the graph starts at 1. So x can't be less than 1. And look what it does. It tells me here, when x is 0, there's an error, which means if I put 0 in there, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. We can't have the square root of negative 1. We can, but it's an imaginary number, which we do in Math C. So for our purpose, it does not exist there. If you go anything up, it shows you error, 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 which means that nothing is happening on this side of the graph. Everything starts from there. If I go with my down button in the opposite direction, I can see when x is 1, when x is 1, y is 0. When x is 2, y is 1. So this is 2 and 1. You don't have to show all the working again. Okay, for 3, when x is 3, y is, now it gives you a weird thing, which means is I just have to quickly check. Now if I substitute 3 back into my equation, If I say 3 take 1, 3 take 1 is 2, and square root 2 is in my y value. And square root 2, round off, is 1.41421 what. Okay. If I put 4 in there, 4 is 1.7, another weird one. So we just have to check, put 4 in there, 4 take away 1 is 3, which means that this value will be 4 square root 3. So now I have points and I can quickly go and have a look how it looks like. Okay. When x is 1, y is 0. When x is 2, y is 1. When x is 3, y is square root 2. And we saw that square root 2 is 1.4, so it's just a little bit higher than that. When x is 4, over here, y square root 3, which is there. So my graph looks like that, and it will carry on in that direction. Okay, what is the domain? Remember we said that the domain is where I find my x values, because the range is the curly y tail, so domain is my x values. Where do I find x values? To find x values, I'm going to work this way around. I'm going to say, is there any values? No, the value starts there, and that is where x equals 1. Right, so my domain is 1, and my last value is never ending. So it means it's 1, and my upper limit is infinity. 1 is included because we did get a value for 1. 1 is included. Infinity is never included. What's the range? That's where I find y values. So I'm going to go up, up, up. It starts there. That's my first y value. So it starts at 0. And it finishes, this thing just goes on forever. So that must be infinity. And therefore we can say 0 is included because it's on the line. So 0 is included. Infinity is never included. And that's my domain. So in the B part, x and y are variables such that y equals x squared minus 4, where x is element from 0 to 4, including 0 and 4. Now I know this is going to be a line and not points because it's everything between 0 and 4. If they wanted only whole numbers, it would have been 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but that means it's all the values. The same thing, I want to know what happens at that value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if x equals 0, then y equals, and I'm going to substitute 0 in there. 0 squared minus 4, and 0 squared minus 4 is negative 4. So I have my first little thing there. X is 0 and 4. And now I can do it with everyone. I can do it now with, but remember it's any value, so I can use 0.5, I can use 1, I can use whatever, as long as I can get a shape out of that. Now again, on my calculator, it is so easy. All I have to do is I'm going to say clear. I'm going to say on. I'm going to say quit. I'm going to start again. I'm going to say table. I'm going to say clear that function I already have in there. I want a new function. A new function is x squared minus 4. Enter. I'm going to start at, doesn't matter, I'm going to start at 0. I'm going to step up in once. Enter. And look at my values. When x is 1, y equals negative 3. When x equals 2, y equals 0. When x equals 3, and I can just scroll down, y equals 5. When x equals 4, I want at least the last one and the first one, or the first one and the last one. When x equals 4, y equals 12. Now you don't have to do the substitution every time. As long as you show once how you got it, I don't care how you do this. You can do it mentally, you can do it with your calculator, as long as you don't get it from the friend next to you. Okay, so if I draw my graph now, to scale, I'm going to say when x is 1, y equals negative 3. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Oh, sorry, negative 4. So when x is 0, so when x and y, when x is 0, y is -4. When x is 1, y is -3. When x is 2, so when x is 2, y equals 0. When x is 3, y equals 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All to scale, of course. When x is 4, y is 12. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's all the way up there. And that's not a straight line. This graph would look like this. And it will not carry on, so I can't make a point. I can just stop it with a dot and a dot because it includes the values. So what is my domain? Domain is my x values. They actually already gave me my domain. My domain is 0. Domain equals 0 and 4. They gave me the domain. That's where I find all my x values. What's my range? So where do I find y values? Using my ruler, my range starts at, this was -4. My smallest value and my highest value was +12. And that will be my domain and my range.